What's up, guys? Bobo here with the BrassReels, and we're going to be talking about the Predator franchise today. We had somebody who was supposed to be joining us. That's why we're running a little late. They just couldn't make it. So, but as always, I got my partner in crime, my can of spam, Andrew. What it do?
What up? What up?
What's up? All right, yeah, he's coming from his house tonight. He's not at the office, but that's all right. See, I got the whole Predator group there behind me.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, we're going to be talking about the Predator franchise today, and we're not going to be talking about Alien versus Predators, because those are sort of even, Andrew, you mentioned the other day, James Cameron and Ridley Scott, the guys who are responsible for the major success of the Alien franchise. They don't consider those to be canon, and I don't think a lot of people either do. A lot of people consider them to be kind of like party movies, like the Freddy versus Jason's. So, with that being said, we are just going to be talking about part 1, part 2, Predators, the Predator, and we're going to rehash over Prey a little bit. Even though we just did a spoiler discussion on that, we're going to include it in the franchise because I think it's worth talking about and comparing to the other films. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But dude, I got to say real quick, I went to Lamberti's tonight, a place I used to work for a long time, and my mom and my stepdad took me over there. We ate some din, had a good old time, and they have the coffee there it's really good. I've had 2 big old cups of it, and man, that shit has got me zinging.
Zinging.
It really does, dude. Like I feel on. So watch, I'm gonna start messing up here like on everything in a second, but first off, I just want to say this real quick about the Predator franchise and to our guy that can't make it tonight.
You son of a bitch.
Dylan. So real quick, Predator. Dude, when did you see this movie, the first one?
Oh, man. I saw the first Predator maybe I might have been like 6 or 7, and maybe 8, and so that was like early 90s.
Yeah, I think I saw it in 89 or 90, because the only reason I know that is because there was a couple friends with my mom and my dad, and they had their kids were my age, and we were friends all at the church and stuff like that. That's how we knew each other. So my mom and dad would go hang out with them, and I'd hang out with them. And I remember when they got Batman on VHS, and they were waiting for it to come out. They bought it brand new, and we watched it over there. I just remember it was glorious.
Oh, I remember having Batman on VHS for sure.
Oh, every kid does from our age. But at the same time, later on, at that same little time period we were going over there, one of the kid was like, "Have you seen Predator?" And I was like, "No." And I had never known what it was. I thought it was just some Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where it was like, I thought it was a military movie. Just by the cover of the movie, I was too young to understand. No, there's a monster alien in this movie. And when he told me about that, then I was like, it changed the game for me. Then I was like, of course I want to see it. And when I watched it, dude, it was amazing. But that's how I remember it was like 89 or 90, because Batman came out in 89.
Yeah. Yes, I don't have a recollection of watching it. I don't remember my dad owning the VHS. I don't remember even watching it on VHS, but I do remember watching it at home on TV. So it's probably one of those times where, like I said, it had already been out for 4 or 5 years, and it showed up on a channel, and my dad was watching it and let me watch it. Kind of one of those things.
Sure.
I have more memories of watching Alien. I have more memories of watching Aliens much younger than I should had, and wanting to be Hicks. And literally running around the neighborhood pretending like I'm killing aliens.
Sure. Hell yeah, dude. We all wanted to be Hicks.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was around the same time. I saw all those movies probably within the same year or 2 years of each other, or year and a half. As far as Alien, because I saw Aliens before Alien.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, me too.
But then when I saw Aliens, scared me more than Aliens. Well, when I saw Alien, it actually jacked me up a little more. Aliens, yes, the facehuggers were scary. Yes, the aliens were scary, but it still had this element of the military deal. And like, I don't know. It was everybody knows it. It's the action version. It's the James Cameron deal. But like when I saw Alien, to me, we all know this. Alien is a horror movie. Aliens is an action movie. But anyways, we're not talking about that. Sorry, I'm getting off track as always. But Predator, I think it's safe to say that it goes down in history as one of the sort of like more influential films in Hollywood. Like it's a very big part of pop culture in the zeitgeist. Like it's in there. It's in there with Rocky. You know what I mean? Like, oh, Predator, bro. You know, like Kenny Powers on Eastbound and Down. Oh yeah, like fucking Schwarzenegger and the Predator. You know, like people refer to that movie as it should be referred to. Directed by John McTiernan, the same guy who did Die Hard and Medicine Man. But he did Die Hard 1 and 3, which are the best ones. And he really knew what he was doing with this movie. Like, if you watch the behind the scenes and everything, a lot of people are like, he really wants us to be on location and all that. But dude, you feel it.
Yeah.
You don't feel that on location feeling in any other Predator. You feel it in the Danny Glover one in part 2 because they're in LA. They're shooting in LA and it takes place in LA. So yeah, you feel that. But as far as like in Predators, I feel it some of the time because you can tell they're there, but there's a lot of times you can tell that it's on a set or it feels like it's on a set, especially the Predator, which we'll get to all those. But this one, it just all felt real, dude. I believed this alien existed.
Yeah. There's yeah, I mean, everything you just said. And it's very, there were way, Prey was linked, was way more reminiscent of Predator.
Sure.
And I think that's why Prey was perceived so well. I mean, it was just down to simplicity, on location, and they use the same kind of tricks. You know, you have Arnold setting up those traps and learning, kind of figuring things out with this creature. Same thing with the native girl. She was able to set up traps. And I mean, she's doing even one of the same lines, like "Do it." You know,
yeah, come on, yeah, do it now. Yeah, no, I mean they did that a little bit, and yeah, she's a
Kill me, I'm here.
yes.
They did that also in Predators. They tried to do that with the one with Adrian Brody and everything, but that one was a little bit too much of an on the nose rehash in certain moments. Like a lot, like they amped it up, and we'll get to that, but. He did the mud rubbing and everything. I mean, there were certain moments it was like, oh, look at that. I mean, even the music was exactly the same. But but the music is actually the same in all of them except for the Alien versus and Prey. I don't think it was the same at all in Prey. You may have had one moment where they threw the theme, but you know, like that. Dun, 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 dun. That is in 1, 2 Predators and the Predator. That music is dominating those movies, but it wasn't in Prey that much because Prey's not a military movie. Though those ones have that sort of military vibe at certain moments. And, got our boy Andrew showing up here. Predator is quintessential 80s beefcake. Yeah, and classic 80s sci-fi. No question, man. It is hands down some of the best that's out there. And it started, I mean, it just was a part of a multitude of films for Arnold that just cemented him into legacy. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously there was a point, I think it was right around the movie Sixth Day, Eraser, End of Days. He started that's when he was like, all right, I'm sort of falling off. And then he started going towards politics. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But up until then, even the comedies he were doing, yes, he had a little miss with that movie Junior, which is ridiculous, but he had a string where it's just like every movie he was doing was becoming a cult / blockbuster classic.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? All of them would get Commando, Terminator 2, Predator. You know what I mean? Like he had a string of them that were really awesome.
And even Kindergarten Cop is still seen. Is still.
Yeah, I want to ask you a bunch of questions.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, even Kindergarten Cop is a completely different character from these badass military guys, but that's still a movie that people consider, one of his top.
Oh yeah, Jingle All the Way. It's hilarious. Put that cookie down. Yeah. I mean, so anyways, Arnold, I mean, I love him already, but the fact that he's such a big part of this movie and he really showed what he can do in this movie. And then, of course, you have the whole Dylan, you son of a
Oh,
bitch.
that's one of the biggest
Collar
memes.
with his handshake.
That's one of the biggest memes right there. Is that picture?
Oh, dude, yeah, it's the collar with his handshake. And look, they did this too right here. Look, I want this painting.
Yes,
Dude, how awesome would it be? Now look, how much better would it be if you had the painting with your arm and implemented in there?
Oh, that's totally my arm too.
Yeah, but I mean, you're right. That picture's classic. Like, it's amazing that could just become like they make fun of it in Family Guy. They made fun of it in other things. It's referred to, and that smack when they smack the handshake.
Yeah.
Dylan, and then that's when he's like, "Would the CIA have you pushing too many pencils?" Dude.
Yeah, the one-liners in the movie were really epic.
Dude, so epic. Like, and dude, look at this cast. I mean, Jesse the Body Ventura. Oh, dude, give me a break, dude. He was awesome in this movie. Remember when they're on the plane and he's chewing the tobacco and he's like, "This here turned you into a goddamn sexual tyrannosaur." It's like, what? Okay, buddy. Yeah, tobacco, chewing tobacco.
That's probably ad-lib too.
Oh, I would imagine it had to have been. And but also, like, funny thing, Shane Black, the guy who co-wrote and directed,
well, he was in this as an actor.
Yeah, that's him in between Jesse and Arnold in the back there with the glasses.
Yeah. Yep.
And he was like, he had some smart ass comments in this movie, but dude, Carl Weathers, it's so like, okay, Arnold's ripped, and I should have gotten a picture of Carl Weathers, but Arnold's ripped there. But man, there's when Carl Weathers gets in just to the vest, and it's right before he gets his arm blown off, and then he gets killed. But dude, that guy, between that and him playing Creed and Rocky 3 and 4, him and Arnold had to have been like the two most jacked up dudes back then. Like, Stallone was jacked up, but Stallone was always a smaller guy. Like, he just has a smaller frame. He was always that. I mean, I think arguably some of the biggest he's ever been. Like when Rocky 4 hit, he had never been that big yet.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, when you see that workout, the workout scene and everything, and the way he looks when he fights Drago in Rocky 4 is probably like the best in shape he's ever been.
Up to that point.
Yeah.
And then for a string of movies, you started being like, damn, Stallone. But, if you look at Rocky 1, he just looks like a normal dude. You know what I mean? He doesn't look
up. He was just a beginning boxer. They're never their best in shape.
But man, but then you look at these guys. I mean, holy shit, dude. Arnold, look at that. It looks like there's like, those junior basketballs that you can get at like Pizza Hut for the kids. It looks like there's one of those in his arm.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure infant babies' heads are not even as big as those arms right there.
Dude, and the thing is Carl Weathers is not as big as Arnold. But when you see him take his shirt off and everything, dude, I'm not trying to be all like talking about dudes, but it was just amazing to me, man. He has these pecs that are just like, oh my God. And it shows the same in Rocky 3 and 4. I mean, you can see it in those movies too.
Yeah.
But I mean, those guys, man, I mean, they were just to do that with your body. That's just like The Rock, you know what I mean? It's a lot of freaking work.
Not to go too further into a tangent, but that's one knock I have on the Creed franchise is, as ripped as Michael B. Jordan is, there's still something about his body that is not as big as Apollo.
Yeah, for sure. No,
and I can't place why that is, or why it seems to be, but I'm just like, well, I just look at his body type. I look at his body type as Creed, Michael B. Jordan, and I look at Carl Weathers when he was Apollo, and I'm just like, they're not in the same leagues right now.
Well, I don't think I can't remember, but is Adonis Creed in the heavyweights in those movies, or is he in the middleweights?
He's got to be in heavyweights, dude, because Drago's son overpowers him.
Yeah, that's right. And Drago's son's massive, but because if you look at like Carl Weathers, he's got a bodybuilding body.
Yeah,
like his frame is made for that, and Michael B. Jordan just doesn't have that type of body. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like his shoulder down to waist frame doesn't go from massive to sort of slightly skinny in the middle. But like, even then, there's certain people when you see them really get in shape, you can tell it's like, man, you look amazing, but you don't have a bodybuilder body because you'll never will. You don't have the frame for it. But
yeah,
like,
I get that could be what it really comes down to.
yeah.
Anyways,
They're not related in real life.
Yeah. Anyways, we out in the left league, but,
but that's fun. That's fun. Sometimes we get off on those tangents. But let's move forward though. But I do want to say this one part. Predator. Everything about this movie, the direction, the one-liners, the horror aspect of it that sneaks in. And that's another thing I loved about it. It sort of slowly but surely turns into this horror movie, but you didn't realize that. It felt more like an action movie, but man, that Predator's scary, dude. And when you see Jesse Ventura's chest blown out, dude, that tattooed in my brain as a kid. That was something that I was just like, because at first I thought he got shot with the laser thing, and then I see that like, oh my god, that thing is literally a laser cannon.
Yeah.
And then when it also, remember the dude, the guy that's in between Arnold and Carl, I can't ever remember his name, but he was
the bald dude. I don't remember his name either, but yeah,
he was in a ton of 80s movies. But remember, he's always shaven. He's always got the Bic razor. And remember, he like goes real hard and starts cutting him, and it breaks because they're waiting. They think the Predator's right around, and all of it's just it becomes so tense. And I just love that movie. I mean, that movie is a solid A+. I need to do a full-on review for that movie sometime. But
yeah, well, like the kind of touching on what you said about how
there you go. Thank you, Andrew.
There you go. And kind of touching on what you said about how it's not a horror film, but it's got some it's scary. When he takes his mask off at the end and reveals what his face really looks like and does that roar, like that right there is what makes it not suitable for children.
And dude, those animatronics for the face, because that's a person in the suit, but they've got working animatronics on the face. And I've actually got this cool little overlay. So
right on.
Dude, that had never been done before like that. Like that was, and what made that so believable was, and that's not a good picture depicting this, but it was that you could see the human eyes moving. So it was a real person's eyes doing the acting and the movement and all this stuff. And when you see the sharp teeth inside of the mandibles, the actual mouth, it's like,
yeah,
that is the frame of the person's mouth. So they're able to like do this jaw movement while these mandibles are starting to move and everything. And man, it looked amazing, and it still does. Watching part one, the Predator, all the effects and everything fully hold up for me. Like, yes, the camouflage effects started to get better throughout the movies, obviously, because technology has gotten better. So, but to me, that even makes it that much better. The fact that it still holds up like that, like it holds up to me like the original Star Wars stuff, in my opinion, all of it. And then when you see them getting killed, like blood and stuff like that, it's all practicals, obviously. So that looks amazing. All the helicopter shots and everything. There's just no like CG green screen stuff. All the explosions are it's all badass. So yes, Predator 1, top notch. Recommend that movie to anybody. So with the success of Predator 1, the same guys who wrote the screenplay for Predator, because I think Predator was based on a novel, but I'm not sure that this one was based on a novel. It's like Jim Thomas and somebody else. Not Jim Thomas. Anyways, I'm getting those names wrong. Sure, Andrew Edwards will help us out. So Predator 2 comes out. Now, I remember when this came out, and at this point when this was coming, I did not see this in the theater, but as soon as it came out on video, I saw it. And I remember seeing the original, loving the idea. It was awesome. It's totally surprised me. And then when I saw the poster for this, I was like, he's here in the city too. It's like, because I always had this feeling that like, as long as I'm not in the jungle, I'm all right.
Yeah.
Predator ain't going to get me. But then when I see that he's going to be in the city, it kind of scared me. It kind of made me think that there could be a Predator anywhere. So I just was really loving that. A lot of people don't really consider this one to be a good one. Some people really adore this one. Some people do think it is a step down from the first one, which it is. It's not near as good as the first one.
Well,
I don't think it's near as bad as some people think it is, because I think it's actually enjoyable.
The thing about this one is that it kind of just doesn't go along with the lure of Predator. Why is he in the city and why is he? What is he looking for the whole time? Like, it's led us to believe that it seeks out a worthy warrior, right? I mean, that seems to be the premise, even in Alien versus Predator.
Well, I think what they were trying to sell to you though was that it was they keep on talking about because look, it's Danny Glover who they couldn't get Arnold back for this because I think he was doing T2, but so Danny Glover's in there and they keep on talking about how the crime is so bad in LA. They ever like multiple times they're referring to it. It's like it's a damn war down here. It's a war zone, and so I'm thinking that maybe just because of all the guns and all that stuff, maybe that's their reasoning for why the Predator wants to be there because it is sort of like a war instead of in the jungle, it's in the streets. But the thing about the jungle is it's like, and the way they explained it in like Prey is that it's sort of sifting through the species of predators to see which one it can actually get the best hunt out of. And maybe my thinking is that it knows that humans are a good hunt and one of theirs died because of a human. So maybe let's go hunt them down in the city where there's multiple humans. That's the only thing I can think of.
I mean, they do link it. They do mention that a group of Marines encountered this alien species a couple years back, and so they hint that they've known about this species, this predator, this alien race before. I think it's actually Gary Busey who kind of goes on that speech and admits it. He's like, a fucking alien is what he's something like he says. Yeah.
And he breaks it down to Danny Glover when he takes him in there and everything, which by the way, since we're talking about Gary Busey in this, I love this too, because between this movie and the first Predator, you got and you got Bill Duke being in the first Predator and then Danny Glover and Gary Busey being in this one. It's like Lethal Weapon all over Predator franchise. You know what I mean? But dude, this picture of Gary Busey just cracks me up every time I see it. Dude, is that not the epitome of Gary Busey right now? It's like, hey, what do you think of when it's like you want to talk about Gary Busey? It's like, yeah. So, what image of Gary Busey do you have in your mind right now? Is it anything like this? And most of the time, it's going to be because he's just become so crazy. So that I don't know why. Every time I see that, it cracks me up. Yeah. So yeah, they do try to connect it to the first one as far as verbalizing that this is in the same existence of that happening. You know what I mean? So in this movie, the first one did happen. Now doesn't have near the allure that the first one did as far as like this thing sort of creeping around this quiet jungle and everything. Like I feel like the invisibility and a predator in the city it would only go so far because there'd be all kinds of clanging. You know what I mean? His claws and shit would almost accidentally rub up against something, and he'd get figured out pretty quickly, I think, with that invisibility.
How do you think if they were to if Predator 2 would be done now, who do you think would be that lead? Because it ain't gonna be somebody like Danny Glover. It'd be like some action badass star like Michael B. Jordan or even Will Smith.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're right. I think that they would do somebody along those lines. Or
do you think that Danny Glover was a reason why this was not so good? Was it the script and was it the script itself? Or
I think that there's a possibility that Danny Glover may have been a possible contribution to why this wasn't so successful. Because look, let's face it, I love Danny Glover. I loved him and all this stuff, but he was never really a full-on leading man. I mean, he shared the Lethal Weapon franchise, and without without Riggs, Murtaugh ain't all that entertaining. He is entertaining, but he's entertaining because of Riggs' nonsense.
Absolutely.
So that's why it works. And so for him to be a leading man in this, I think you might have something there.
Especially someone who gets the best of these predators when previously it's been someone like Arnold.
Yeah. Oh, right. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, I don't know if you ever see Danny Glover take his shirt off back in the day, even in this movie. I mean, he's jacked, dude. I mean, but he does have sort of a grandpa strut to him. You know what I mean? Like Arnold, I'm like, all right, maybe Arnold's got a chance, but with Danny Glover, I don't ever really believe he's got a chance. But I mean, I just buy into it because it's in the movie. I just want to put this up here. Andrew says Predator 2 disappointed him initially, but it's done nothing but grow on him over the years. It's added a lot to the lore. Has a bunch of fun, outlandish characters and scenes. Dude, you are so right about that because these characters, on top of Gary Busey, but the cop on the left, who's also a cop in the movie Color of Night with Bruce Willis. Then the girl on the bottom, I can't ever remember her name. I'm sure Andrew will correct us. But then Bill Paxton on the top, he is like this in every movie, just like he is in Aliens, Game over, man. Game over.
Game over.
And I can't remember any of his specific lines, but I remember he's telling jokes and stuff to her in this, and they're just the worst jokes in the world. And I don't mean like super graphic or crass. I mean, not funny.
No. Well, that's I mentioned the script because I remember even looking back and rewatching parts of it, not too long ago. There's a part where Gary Busey is stealing a line from like Wizard of Oz, like lions and tigers and bears and aliens, races and species, and this, like, oh my God, that's not good.
I think that's just because it's Gary Busey doing it.
No, maybe, but
because like when he starts trying to be menacing and like, it's one thing if he wants to play a maniac, if he wants to play somebody that's nuts, that's great. And he wants to be an evil, psychotic, crazy man, he can pull that off. But as soon as he's supposed to be like some commanding officer of the CIA or some secretive deal, and then he tries to make some sort of compelling, like Ed Harris from The Rock style of speech, it just comes off cheeseball. You know what I mean? I feel like that. Yeah. But that's partially why I love some of this movie, because of all that stuff that's in it. I mean, I think that kind of adds to the charm. This movie screams, it's a total sign of the times. Like, it screams that early 90s vibe, dude. Late 80s, early 90s vibe. Like, it almost seems like a Canon film at points. You know what I mean? Like some of the way that the it's smoky everywhere, and the same way Last Boy Scout feels a lot of the time. It just, again, they don't look this way anymore. And Predator,
it has a lot of the feel of like T2.
Yeah, and which unfortunately has a little bit of a dated feel to it. Predator doesn't really feel all that dated, but it's partially because they're military gear and they're in the jungle. The only time it feels dated is when they're using some of their tech.
Right.
But other than that, it really, you forget that you're not thinking about that they're in the 80s when you're watching Predator. You are in Predator 2. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, but like, okay, so you mentioned that, Predator doesn't feel dated, even though it clearly is. It's the same thing with Prey. Prey is clearly dated. I mean, it takes us back 300 years.
Well, but that was because they were making movies.
The story, and everything that transpires, that's going to stand the test of time. And Predator is as well. We obviously still love Predator.
But what I'm saying, but Prey, they weren't making movies in the time that exist in Prey. And the time that exists in Predator 2, it was a present day film, and so is Predator. This is intended to be in the past, so you don't have to worry. You try to make it look like then. What I'm saying is the style of filming in Predator 2 screams the style that movies were being made.
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. So that's what I mean by saying dated. Whereas Predator doesn't scream 80s. It doesn't have because of the way that it's crafted. Like Die Hard screams 80s, but it's because they're in a building and they're around all this 80s shit. You know what I mean? But like in Predator, it was just a genius way, is what I'm saying, of doing it all.
You don't speak ill of Die Hard.
Oh, trust me, sir. It still to this day, like when people say, what's the greatest action movie of all time? And people are like, Die Hard. Maybe. I mean, Predator's in that book. I would toss Predator in there.
Listen, anybody that says Die Hard is the best action movie of all time, you'd be hard pressed to change their mind.
And it's one of those ones where I'd be like, you know what? I could think of one that could give it a run for its money, but if that's your favorite action movie of all time, I'm cool with agreeing with you, because I love that movie. And I can't think of, like, to me, like, there's the Predator, there's the T2, there's Aliens, Die Hard, Rocky 4, Cobra. Those all kind of float in the same sort of like pool of just badassery.
Well,
You
I
know,
would say badassery with Rocky 4, but I would not call it an action movie.
it's the most action Rocky yet, that's for sure. But I mean, it's just and Rambo 2.
Oh,
Rambo 2 was, dude. Anyways, we're getting off topic.
yeah.
So, but Predator 2, like one of the things I really liked about Predator 2 was that the idea that there was this voodoo gang that was skinning their victims and doing like a little bit, but then they, when the voodoo gang's getting together, you see them talking about killing all these people, and they're basically just more of a drug cartel. They're just using the voodoo thing as a cover up, but they're not really even into voodoo.
Mm-hmm.
But then they see this monster predator come up, and then the idea that the predator's skinning them. And I just like the idea of some of that confusion. I think there's a lot of cool scenes with the predator skinning people. And then like when the predator attacks all them in that upper like penthouse at nighttime with the drug dealer and the naked girl. And that's just, to me, and it could be because I saw it as a kid and why it still sticks with me so much. But even rewatching it, like Andrew says, like this movie does grow on me. It's one of those ones that every time I watch it, I like it more. And I never disliked it. But dude, when the predator jumps down in the subway or in the alley and starts walking in the water and the invisibility, and you just see the footsteps and you can see him invisible, and then he starts coming to life a little bit. And I just remember as a kid just loving that because I'd never seen anything like that before. Most people hadn't, with the water,
Yeah.
the way it looked real, and it still does. Like I try to pick it apart and being like, oh, look how silly now. I can see they're just, but they really did a good job on it. And so parts of the movie that are like that stand out, and the Predator still looks good.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do agree that it's one of those films that grows on you as you get older and watch it again. But that's true that tends to be true for a lot of 80s, early 90s movies that you and I both like,
Sure.
And I don't know if maybe it's because it's nostalgic, and we just want to watch it, it's kind of a conundrum, I guess. But I think the idea of the Predator being in the big city was a big, like, after the plot of the first one was like, I wonder what that Predator creature would be like in the big city where it can't hide from people, and we got
take them to the space, the Muppets go to the city,
and we got that, and it was less than stellar, but it has ended up being a movie that was necessary for the franchise.
And you get to see a skull rip out scene, and he's like on the top of the.
Yeah,
it's a lot more comic booky. The first one is just like a badass. It's kind of, the first one's like on the equivalent of like Dark Knight and stuff, in the sense that it's an awesome movie, and it happens to be about Batman characters. You know what I mean? Predator is an awesome movie and it happens to be about this alien that like hunts humans, and it's just this awesome story. You know what I mean? Whereas, Predator 2 is not an awesome story, but look, the sequel, man, it was made with never being intended to be made.
Yeah. I think that there's kind of a little cool like plot within a plot in the movie that's kind of ended up being kind of cool. They think they're going after cartel, and they think that they're going after just whatever, and then it turns out like, oh no, actually what we're going after some sort of alien race, and then it kills Danny Glover's partner, and that's kind of when it's all revealed. So it's that's kind of cool.
No, and I like that. And again, how at first they think this cartel is like voodoo people.
Yeah.
And so they're like, but then they realize, but then at the same time this is happening, but they're using it just as a front. But then there's this, alien actually skinning people. And then you got this though at the end that was like sort of for people that think this movie's okay, everyone thinks that this is sort of the saving grace of the movie is when he gets on the spaceship at the end. First, we see him like kind of, you see like it's on the ship, because then it sort of switches tones. It went from this sort of 90s Lethal Weapon-ish feeling film into a sci-fi pretty much film fully.
Now, Yeah. Now go back to the skulls. See that big one on the left?
Yeah.
Where the fuck is the movie with that thing in it?
Well, I don't think that there's all movies with all these things in here.
No, I know that. I'm saying, like, where's it at? Let's do it.
Well, I mean, it could be just a predator dog of some sort. This looks like it could be a predator dog. These are being circled for certain reasons. I think one of the masks that he wears is right here. See up here on the not the oval circle, but the small circle.
The one that's kind of more in the middle.
Yeah, not in the very middle, but at the top left. I think that might be the mask that he's wearing in Prey. If not, maybe the one in the middle.
No, the one on the far right looks like the one it might be the one he's wearing in Prey.
No, the one on the far right, I think, is a mouth of like the predator dog. This looks like the predator dog head.
Oh,
I think this might be it, or this might be it. But anyways,
well, then obviously, everyone saw the xenomorph on the wall,
of course,
and that obviously that started the entire AVP,
which Fox owned both of these franchises.
Yeah. Let me see what Andrew has to say right here. He says does a great job. Predator 2 does a great job expanding the universe. It led to countless XYZ versus Predator graphic novels and allowed fan imaginations to run wild. That's literally what you were just saying. So, yeah, I mean, it definitely made people that didn't know that maybe they could be tied together. It let people know that, like, oh, wait a minute, predators and aliens, huh? And yeah, the graphic novels and stuff. I mean, the movies never touched anything with those can do. And I mean, there was even some Predator versus Alien Batman stuff, which they even made a short film out of called Dead End, which is awesome. If y'all have never seen that, check that out. Batman Dead End. It's literally Batman, predators, and aliens, and the Joker's in it. It's awesome. It's a short film too. It's not animated. It's actually real. Now, I mean, it's about the best quality that somebody can make it without being like studio. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyways, and also one of the things that you see in this is that gun, and this is at the end is when he gives him that gun in part 2, and then they show that in Prey as well, and that's why I found this picture, because that's a picture of Prey on the left there. But moving forward, and years and years had passed, and there had been no Predator movie. And then in the 2000s, and I think it was like in the 2010s too, maybe it was late 2000s, maybe it was late 2000s, but you had Predator come out.
That was 2010. Predators was 2010.
There you go. All right, good job. What'd you think about this one? Starring Adrian Brody and Topher Grace and Danny Trejo and Larry Fishburne.
It was a bunch of soldiers who were kind of they awake while they're falling.
Goggins.
They awake while they're falling from the sky, and they kind of come to, and they're on some land, and they realize they're on a hunting ground. I mean, it was a cool premise. I don't remember how well it was received by critics and fans. I didn't care for the whole. It's revealed that Topher Grace's character is actually evil.
Yeah, they could have done without him being. They could have just kept him as the doctor.
Yeah, because then it's just like, okay, well, now you've got humans who are facing off against an alien race, and the humans are doing what humans do, which is kill each other. And so that was stupid. And I didn't really understand the point of it.
No, it was an unnecessary little, like, I was telling Clint this the other day. I think that they did that because this was at a time where people were liking twisty-turny movies. They wanted a twisty turn element to it, and that was theirs. And they even did it too with Lawrence Fishburne. But his is that he was like losing his mind, which I don't mind that. I buy that he's been there for years and he's been chasing. So like, remember, because he starts trying to burn them out of their facility.
Yeah.
And then they're like, what are you doing? And he's like, y'all trying to, like, he's literally like losing his mind. But like, they made Topher Grace like he had this whole maniacal plan. It's like, what? That's stupid. But I do like calling him Larry Fishburne because I know that's what his friends call him. So, I think this movie is to answer your question, or to talk about it being well received or not. I think it was well enough received uh, to where it didn't get bashed. I think it was definitely, in a lot of ways, they were trying to rehash elements from the original, but
Oh
they
yeah.
were also very much trying to make it its own thing. As far as they're adding these predators, you start to see that there's a struggle within a struggle of predators, like the way we can sort of have like a civil war and be mean to our own species. It
Yeah.
starts showing that they can do that too.
Well, you learn that there was a hierarchy with these predators. There were like giant predators and like more like stronger ones and then weaker ones, and they were killing each other as well.
Yeah, so
But they were, I think they were all hunting people as a way to kind of show which of us is going to be the superior of the species in a way.
yeah, no, I mean, I think that that's very. I think that that is right. The whole idea is that they're very archaic in their frame of mind. They don't necessarily talk shit out. They prove it with they're barbaric.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I like that, and I do like that they show some ideas and certain things that they're breeding with us, like they're sort of humanoid, like, and we'll talk about that in the Predator. But there's a couple things about the Predator, which is the most recent one before Prey, that I do like that I like is that add to the lore, I think, but I don't like that movie as a whole. It's one of those ones that's fun to watch, but it's kind of like the Batman and Robin of Predator movies. But going back to Predators, I think critics liked it enough. I don't know if it was like super loved across the board, but I know that it wasn't super hated across the board either. You know what I mean?
I kind of wonder if people were starved for a Predator movie. Like, holy shit, we haven't had a Predator movie since the 90s. This is going to be awesome.
It could have been Fox, their way of holding on to the rights of the franchise before the writers or the guy who wrote the original novel had. You know what I mean? A lot of these guys, they'll make movies like that Fantastic Four movie with Miles Teller and Michael B. Jordan, and
yeah,
that one,
the bad one.
Yes, that one. They've even pretty much admitted that they made that movie so they could hold on to so they could hold on to the actual franchise, because it was done by 20th Century Fox. It's before Disney bought Fox, and it would have reverted back to Disney, and it was before that merger thing was even talked about. So, anyways, that could have been what was happening with Predators. Maybe they made it because of that reason. I don't know that, but it's like,
you know what I do. What I do know, I remember hearing this. I don't know, years ago, months ago. Robert Rodriguez, didn't he write this?
I don't think he wrote it. I know that he executive produced it. It's made by Troublemaker Studios, but
Okay.
Nimrod Antle directed it.
I think what I remember hearing, Robert Rodriguez wrote the script for Predators, and he pitched it as a part 3 following Predator 2, and it was passed on and passed on and passed on, and cut to 15 years later, it was being done.
Interesting. Now, but I don't think that he. I might be wrong. I'm going to check real quick. I don't think that he wrote. So yeah, no, okay. So this is what's cool. Oh, this is awesome. I didn't realize this. It says that it's written by Robert Rodriguez, Jim Thomas, and John Thomas, which Jim Thomas and John Thomas are the guys who wrote the first two. So yeah, okay, there you go. Interesting. I didn't realize that he had written it. That's sweet.
So what are you looking at? Are you looking at IMDb?
I'm just looking at the Google, which it just shows you the main information.
Does it say that he wrote it like in the early 90s?
I'm not looking at an actual specific deal. I'm just looking at sort of.
But he was attached to writing the movie.
No, it's okay. So in 1994, during the production of Desperado, he began writing this script.
There you go.
Yeah. So good job, man. I never knew that. You learn something every day. That's awesome. I knew that he was the executive producer and Troublemaker Studios did it, but what's really cool of him is to understand that he's like, my directing style isn't made for a Predator movie. So I'm going to write it. I'm going to produce it, but I have somebody else that knows what they're doing on this type of movie direct it. So that says a lot about him. So kudos, Robert Rodriguez. So I personally, one of the things I want to talk about this, and, we won't have much to talk about after this because we talked about Prey a lot. We will run over it. And Predators is just bad. Something in my throat, as always.
And I'm pretty sure in the ending of the ending is that Adrian Brody and the girl they're left on the planet as they see other parachuting predators coming down,
dropping. Yeah, and well, then they're like, all right, now let's get off this planet, and then they realize, oh shit, it's about to all start happening again, which that's fine. I like movies that aren't happy endings sometimes. Like, give it to me. I think that's great. Now, to me, this is where I really started to. Yes, you saw the different predators in Predator 2, but only at the very end and just for a second. But this one is where you actually see different full-on predators. Like there's these three that are obviously these different crazy ranks.
Yeah.
Dude, when this one takes his mask off, because the Predator in Predator 2 was essentially the same one as in the Predator one. There might have been some little differences, but it was essentially the same looking one. Dude, this one, when he takes his mask off in Predators, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
That's nasty, dude. That looks almost like a much more monster. Like his mandibles are like crab claws almost. And then what's to me, the one in Predator and Prey looks really monstery as well. So like this one right here has more of kind of the human eye structure, like I mean, as far as the bone structure goes. But then when you get to this one, the eyes are way more slanted, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, and clearly that's just kind of implying that this is a different breed, I guess, of the alien of the Predator.
There's a lot of different looking humans, so maybe there's they have their Russian and Austrian style of humans, and their puny American style of human predators.
But, hey, I think that I pointed out in our Prey talk that the mask that it uses in Prey was supposedly from Predators, from a creature that was in Predators.
Yeah, like one of the Predator dogs or something. That's I tried to look that up, and all it said was it was from a creature from another planet or something, but I couldn't find that it was specifically those dogs from Predators. But it was saying that it was attached somehow, like because if you look at those dogs in Predators, it doesn't necessarily look like their skull shape, and it doesn't necessarily look like their skull shape of the dogs in the Predator, because there's Predator dogs in that too, in the Predator. I don't know if you've seen that or not, but it's worth seeing just to see it.
Yeah.
But overall, like at the end of Predators, they end up getting sort of the same tactics with he figures out the mud thing and everything, and then he starts running around this whole camp at nighttime and fooling him with flames and fire, and so it's basically like using the elements of Earth again to defeat the Predator.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was cool, and they did it original enough, but this movie, I thought it did good enough for them to make another one and do the Shane Black Predator movie with Shane Black, who was in the first movie.
Yeah.
This guy right here in between Arnold and Jesse. He is written and directed a lot of stuff. He's written a lot of cool scripts, The Last Boy Scout being one of them. He wrote Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. That one was awesome.
That was a great movie.
Yeah, but then, I mean, he's done a lot of other things. He co-wrote Monster Squad with Fred Decker.
Love it.
And so I'm like, cool, let Shane Black do it. He did Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3 is not my favorite Marvel movie, but I like it better than Iron Man 2, and I really enjoy it. I think it's good. I have fun with it. It's one of those ones I like every time more and more. So I was excited that he was going to do this movie. I was like, man, maybe he's going to bring some coolness to this, and then it kept on getting pushed back, and then they reshot a lot of stuff, and then but reshoots like months later, not just like the normal scheduled reshoots that every movie has. This was like after screenings, like, okay, we got to rewrite and then reshoot. Like, so not just reshoots, but rewrites. And then they advertise the movie like this, like it's a Predator hand holding a Predator mask with a skull coming out of it. So, and it says the hunt has evolved. So right away I was like, what are they doing with this? And then you see this, which is like, why does the Predator have a target on it being seen in the Predator vision? So I was like, all right, what's up with this? And then they introduced this giant monster Predator that kills the other Predator. To me, I like that part a lot about it, but the way they get there and I don't know, it just, if the movie would have had a serious tone like Prey or something like that, it would have been maybe acceptable with that big predator. But the movie is just so silly and such a comedy throughout with Thomas Jane and Keegan Michael Key and Sterling K. Brown and Olivia Munn. And it's just, it's one of those ones I like more and more every time I watch it, not because I think it's a better movie, because I start having more fun with it because of these parts that I can laugh at. You know what I mean? It's kind of like laughing at those goats in Thor. It's like, really? Again? Oh my God. Like, that's what the Predator is like when you're watching it. Some of the things that come out of their mouth, some of the way the exposition transpires. There's this little kid that gets a hold of a Predator helmet and he's walking around with it on for Halloween, and he accidentally blows up this jerk at the top of this. It's like,
and then something about that kid and his autism being something that the predators are actually after because of his blood. And that where that kind of went? They're trying to combine human DNA with predator DNA,
yeah.
and the species believes that kid with the autistic that's autistic,
right.
Is the key to what they want.
Well, Olivia Munn says at one point, some believe that kids on the spectrum is the next step in human evolution. And so, yeah, that's what it is. He's after that kid, but it's also because the kid has the helmet.
Right.
The other wants his helmet back. You know, it's kind of like Michael Myers wanting to go back to his house. It's funny you're bringing this up because Andrew posted this a second ago. If you subscribe to the bizarro logic of 2018 Predator flick, the predators apparently integrate DNA from their prey, which could explain the significant appearance differences. So, and that makes sense because the reason that humans start to look so and so different and, is, well, I have my theories about different actual species, but at some points you can have a brother that looks the same. And then down the line, they have similarities, but look way different because they've been bred with other races now because their family's gone on, and bred have kids. And I think that makes sense with the predators in this too. So that's part of the logic that I do like about the Predator.
Yeah. Well, I mean, shit, in the AVP, you see a pred alien,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like, I like all that. That's cool. It's just the jokes, the way that it's like, they forget to make the Predator scary at all. Like, look, the Predator is supposed to be scary. And like you and me and Clint were talking about the other night, I don't mean like scary to where we're watching the movie and we're quaking in my boots and we have nightmares about this Predator monster. No, but it needs to be like when you saw the monsters in Tomorrow War. Like when I first saw those aliens, I was like, oh shit. Like, all right, that's scary. And Predator, up to this point, even in Predators, has been scary. This is the first time I see this guy, and I don't think that he's all that scary. Look, it looks like an MCU Predator.
Oh, shots fired.
You know what I'm saying? Like, well, I'm saying it looks like the costume. It looks like like an MCU superhero costume, but it's a Predator. And it's too shiny. It's too sleek. And I just don't want that from the Predator. To me, that sort of takes me out of it. I'd much rather this sort of evil vibe. You know what I'm saying? I'd much rather this. This is more like military tactical. But this right here is just too MCU feeling, in my opinion. I'm sure.
In that picture's defense, that is the one with the mask on. They never look as scary with the mask on as when they take it off.
Bullshit. I mean, that looks great, but that looks like a creature that I'm afraid of underneath that mask.
Right.
It looks like a dude.
That's true, but I'm just saying that even when they take their mask off, that's always supposed to be more like, oh.
Yeah,
like in the first one when he reveals his face for the first time.
Sure. Shit. But I'm talking about the arms, the shoulder pads, the little chest pad thing. It just looks like.
You know what that looks like? That looks like it belonged in Masters of the Universe
or Thor. Yeah, it does. Man at Arms, right there.
Yeah.
Universe. Now, anyways, just going back to everything in the Predator, the cast of it, I just kind of think that they messed up with going with this whole comedic tone. So like, look at the cast in the first one. dude.
Oh yeah.
Just badassery all over it. Look at the cast in Predators. Adrian Brody, which by the way was badass in that movie. He talks like this the whole time.
Yeah, it was a little bit like what are you trying to be? You trying to be Batman? What is this?
Hey, I'm sure it was the director telling him to do it, but I still thought he was a badass in that movie. And then look at it. That's the Predator. It just, I don't see. Maybe Boyd Holbrook looks like he's badass, and maybe his partner to his right there, the other main military guy. But like, I don't believe that Keegan could do anything. I don't believe that Olivia could. I don't really believe that Sterling K. Brown could. I don't like all these guys right here. I wouldn't mess with any of them.
No. I mean, you're absolutely right, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's just the movie just has too much of a sleekness, too much of a shine, a popcorn vibe to it that I just can't take it seriously. And you got Jake Busey as the scientist playing that other scientist played by his dad in real life, his son. Like, it's just too on the nose. I can't. So it feels like a comedy of the whole time. Andrew Edwards says, speaking of how bad Predator looks, how about the closing CG Predator killer suit? Oh, I'm getting to that, brother. Trust me. I've got that picture ready to pull up. Do you remember this? Do you remember this right here?
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
So let me just say this. I thought the big, massive monster predator was cool because it was going in line with their idea of them upgrading, try to breeding with other prey. So who knows what they were breeding this thing with.
And that one looks great.
Yeah, it looks freaking scary. I'd be afraid of this thing. And then the fact that it like grows an exoskeleton underneath its skin from armor so it can like take bullets and stuff, like all that was cool. And the fact that it's massive, you know what I mean? Like it's like twice as big.
Yeah, like 9 feet tall. That's fucking scary.
That was cool. So like if they could have found a better way to introduce that, make us afraid of that from the beginning more, build that up more like the Jaws monster, the Jaws, in the movie Jaws. Make that more of something that's just not here we go. There's a new, and then it's just like, I don't know. A lot of it just felt, I feel the rewrites and reshoots when I'm watching that movie. You know what I'm saying? But so the movie gets over with, all that said and done where it's like, it's not my favorite, all these things. It's too much comedy, all this stuff. It was silly exposition. It was silly premise, silly characters. I could have still maybe let it slide with like a C. But it enters D- territory quickly when they show this at the end. I mean, the only reason this movie is not an F for me is because it still has the Predator in it and it's still about the Predator. You know what I mean? Like, I love the Predator character. But other than that, it's a D-, especially when this happened. And it's like right off the coattails of Iron Man 3. And it's like, dude, did you really have to put an Iron Man Predator in here? Iron Predator? Dude, he might as well have just done this.
Oh, dude, where'd you get that?
I just found it online, but I mean, that's what I think everybody in the theater when this came out and they saw this part, that they felt like, are you serious? The guy that just directed Iron Man 3 put this in a Predator movie? And it's like, okay, where do you go from here? And then it shows Boyd Holbrook, which, by the way, I love Boyd Holbrook. I think he's an awesome actor. He was great in Vengeance when we saw that movie together.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic.
He's great in Logan. I think he's really great. I don't dislike him because he did this movie.
I watched the first season of Narcos, and he's fantastic in that too.
Yeah, he's a solid actor. Like, I don't blame actors for the movies ever being bad. A lot of that, sometimes has to, or most of the time has to do with the director, writer, and producer in the studio. But man, when he's just like, people are like, oh my God, what was that? And Boyd Holbrook's standing next to the dude, which by the way, I should have pulled a picture of this up, but at the end, Boyd Holbrook's in full uniform with his beret cap and everything. And he's supposed to be like a Green Beret, and he's got like hair, like unshaven, all stick. It's like, I don't think that's the way it works, right? Don't you have to like take care of yourself if you're in the military? Maybe if you're a Green Beret, you can do whatever, but it just looks all, looks like he's wearing a costume.
That's not necessarily true. I mean, look at the guys in American Sniper. I mean, they got beards like me.
Yeah, but that's because they're in the field and stuff. I'm talking about this guy's like showing up for a conference thing with all these other military officials in uniform. And you know what I mean? I don't know. It was silly to me. the reason it's silly is because I feel like it looks like he's literally wearing a costume. It looks like he's wearing a Halloween costume with the military uniform on because of the way his hair and beard is.
Mm.
And it's like, it's not like a beard like purposely there. It's like mine, like he forgot to shave. You know what I mean? So it just, there's some silliness to that ending scene. And he's just like, that's my new suit, Bubba.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Make it in a size. And it's like, oh my God. Did you literally, again, immediate D- at that point?
I totally forgot about that stupid line. He sees that fucking Iron Predator, you know, for
and
like
somebody's like, what was that? Because the doctor puts his arm up to that little wrist thing. It's just one little wrist thing, and all of a sudden it grabs onto him, and then it starts shing, 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 like an Iron Man suit, and it develops all around him, and then puts all these targets on everybody, and that's what it's doing right here. It's got all those targets on everyone, and then it untransforms and then falls off the doctor, and he's like, and then that dude beside Boyd is like, what was that? That's my new suit, Bubba. Hope to make it in the side running. It's like, dude, get out of here. I can't handle it.
Well, now
way too much.
That was their attempt at you know, was that supposed to be? Correct me if I'm wrong. That was supposed to be what they have designed to counterattack the predator species, right?
Well, it said this is the predator killer. I don't really understand what it was because it was something inside of a pod, like it's in a tube or a pod that's connected to all these other things. But it was like they were preserving something, and they're like, "What?" And it's like, "It's moving, sir. It's moving." And he's like, "Get the kid out of here!" And so it looks like it was like alien tech that they couldn't unlock, and all of a sudden it opens up, and this thing lifts up, and it's like I got this weird goo that it's been like preserved in, dripping off of it. And then somebody says that they said it was the predator killer. So like I honestly don't even know how or why it was being developed or where it came from in that pod. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So again, the whole ending thing to me, if they wouldn't have had that in there, it would have maybe been like in the C- territory, just because it was like, it was weird, but I guess it was kind of fun. Some of the action was cool, but no, dude, this made it complete D- territory as soon as I saw that. It just cheapened the film so much, which was already a cheap feeling film. Just the dialogue and a lot of it. Anyways.
Yeah, and they wasted the beautiful blonde who's supposed to be his wife.
Oh, I love her. And you know, I mean, Olivia Munn, I like her too. And everybody was silly. I didn't believe she was a scientist. You know what I'm saying? And when the Predators like wrecking shop in that lab and everything's just so like, there's some cool things that the Predator's doing, but everything just looks too clean and sleek. And it kind of looks like they're on the bridge of the Star Trek Enterprise or something, you know, it just, I don't like it. It just didn't, the set decoration and everything for that whole thing is just wrong for me. So overall, it's one of those ones. Still have it on the Blu-ray. I still pop it in every now and then because it's just funny to watch in the sense that they're like, what are they doing? And you know me, I'm a collector, but
right,
I'm a completionist. But I disregard, like, not including the Alien versus Predator movies, which I like the first one. But this, out of just part 1 through 5 of just the strictly Predator films, that one is hands down the worst. No question. I think everybody can agree on that. But fast forward from 2018 to 2022, and boy, I could not been more pleased with this movie. Very.
Yeah, I told my cousin, I was like, stop wasting your days, and I was like, and watch this movie. And sure enough, he did. He was like, thank you for encouraging me to watch that. He's like, that was fantastic.
Yeah, they did a really good job with it, man. The premise of it just being bad. And, you know, I know we've already talked about this on a spoiler deal, but we'll just kind of go over it one more time a little bit. But they just did a really good job of harnessing the idea of, one, I think the idea of it being out in the middle of nowhere where you're not in a mass civilization. Mm-hmm. That already makes it better, makes the stakes seem higher. And because for the individual, because it's scarier, you know, being alone in the woods at night and stuff like that. And the fact that it covered a little bit more territory than just a jungle and water type stuff. I mean, it was mountainy at certain areas. They were on the tops of some peaks, you know, and like, it just, that territory being in that part of North America was really a good spot. And the whole Native American thing, awesome.
I mean, even the elements of like, you know, bears and whatnot.
Yes.
You know,
The mountain lion, the bears. There was one more situation that she came in contact with an animal. I'm drawing a blank on that.
Yeah, I
but,
don't remember.
Then the Frenchman, you know?
Oh yeah. Which I think they were like fur traders is something I read online as well.
Yeah, they probably were. They just were from France.
Yeah.
But dude, and then the Predator, the look of the Predator, dude. And one thing that we talked about this, dude. Okay, so another thing that they talk about in the 2018 The Predator is that they were bred with reptilian, like they're like part whatever their species, part us and part like reptilian. Like that's why their skin is like that.
Interesting.
That reptilian skin. So they're not reptiles, but they have reptilian in them, you know?
Okay.
But I thought that this one, man, just couldn't find a good close-up shot of this thing because I still don't think they're wanting you to see it like that until you've seen the movie. But man, this Predator was just, we talked about this, super jacked in a different way, like much more like ripped, like a Bruce Lee Predator or something.
Yeah, or more like a tall wide receiver who's ripped,
Ryan Reynolds,
as opposed to a linebacker. You know,
yeah, it really worked well. I was very intimidated by this guy, and also it was more of a, since this took place back in a further time in our history, it seems like it took place in further back in the time of the Predators' history, as far as they weren't quite as advanced yet.
Exactly, they were advancing in technology as well, but they still had technology that we didn't, that was not in existence,
right,
on
for us.
Yeah.
Now, but they also call this one the feral Predator. I don't know if you heard that before or have heard that since you.
I did. If you look on IMDb, it says the feral. So that's interesting too.
That's a whole other topic to get into, and I tried to like get some info on some of that stuff, like getting the list of predators, but it was just starting to get too intense because it's like the aliens, dude. There's tons of different xenomorphs and all that, but that's all been sort of made by the fans. Now,
right.
I'm sure,
or the dark comics that are out, you know.
Right. And I'm sure that they've, touched on this in some of the movies, and obviously the writers probably know what they're talking about. But like, as far as explaining it to just an audience member, they don't really explain all that stuff in the film. Us naming them is us just digging into it more, you know?
Yeah.
But, like you said, this thing right here, badass. The fact that
it turns into that thing is never seen again. And that was a really fucking cool weapon that he had.
I agree, man. But just the things like this in the movie that were really great, with her eating the flowers and holding still. And then they shot the Predator in this like an element to be scared of, like by the time you're seeing it in the Predator, they're not shooting the Predator in a way that's menacing. They're not shooting Michael Myers the way you need to shoot Michael Myers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm just saying that because, essentially break it down to its bare bones. If you're running from Michael Myers and you're running from the Predator, it needs to basically feel the same way. Like you need to get away from this and figure out how to survive this motherfucker. And if you stop running and stop trying, it's going to get you. You know what I mean? And I feel like you didn't have that in the Predator. And in this one, just this simple shot right there says it all. It's like, dude, I'm afraid of that thing just because of the way he's shot. And the whole movie's full of it, dude. Like, just the way he's colored, and that looks scary.
Yeah.
So I just couldn't have been more pleased.
One thing, I think that. So for me, it was the Predator from the very first one. It was really all about the focused on that the Predator, just the one guy or the one Predator that seemed to be out there, maybe a couple others, but it was really not giving you too much away. And then finally came down to just a human versus the Predator. And something like Predator 2, it was not solely focused on the mysteriousness of the Predator, because it had so much other stuff that was trying to focus on and tell you, with these other with the other humans, that were involved in the story.
Yeah, the
And
first
then
one didn't create any lore. The second one created the lore.
right, but then the predators. You got a bunch of humans in like what turns out to be hunting grounds, and a bunch of other different styles and types of predators. And I think what Prey got back to that was so that everyone liked so much was just back to the simplicity and the scariness of this alien race that no one has witnessed before and seen before, and it was just simply about surviving that or overcoming that or killing it, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like I've always said about, I think movies are better when you're stretching out a specific moment or an event and feel that time passing with them, like Halloween 2018 and Halloween Ends. I know I use these examples a lot, but those two movies still both take place in one night. Both of them together still take place in the same night. And the fact that we're not trying to pass over so much time, that's one of the things in Predator 2 that it kind of ruins it at certain points because days are passing, Predators, not so much, but it's still, I think a night passes, a couple nights pass. But Predator, it's like it gets nighttime and it's time to throw down,
Yeah.
And this one's sort of the same way. Like there maybe a night passes, but it makes more sense in this because it's Native American. She's a tracker. That's what she does. And so all of it makes sense why she would be able to survive. And she's trying to prove that she's a hunter. And but yes, the basics of just the sort of like mano a mano vibe of it. And then, of course you get the one full on like orgasm action scene where the Predators just wrecking shop with all the Frenchmen. And just going to town with them. And then the ending scene's great too with her brother. Let's not forget him, man. Both of them were badass. She was great.
I love that you got a chance to see what a badass he really is.
Man, and it's like you don't feel bad for him dying because of how their creed is and the way he was like, no, let's do this, and this is how I wanted.
They were warriors. Okay, they died. They were warriors, and they died with honor, and they were willing to sacrifice their life for, the family or
we need to get this thing.
Yeah.
And then of course she does, and I loved all that. But I got a comment here. Let me see what Andrew's got to say. Saying how well they pulled off Prey gives hope to all the fans who have always believed that you can insert the Predator into almost any place, time, and history, and it can work if you do it right.
Yeah,
and
man. Hey,
got it, man.
We mentioned we were talking in our Prey talk when we first watched the film, and we did a discussion that I would be on board with seeing a Predator movie every year or every other year, and it takes place at a different time. Like where's one with the Predator in medieval times? How far back are these creators and writers willing to go and say that this alien race has come to Earth for a long time?
For me, though, I say that is the way you need to go moving forward. But I bet you that they do some sort of sequel to this Prey movie. I bet you they do. They are. But I just don't want them to start making a bunch of Predator movies because this one was really good. Because it's a common mistake now. The biggest mistake that Hollywood is making is that they're taking something successful and thinking that people want it everywhere and all the time. And that's just not how we work. As humans, everything in moderation. That's our thing. If you drink coffee all day, it's going to kind of affect you in a negative way. You have your few cups in the morning, and then you eat your lunch. You can't just eat all day. And it's the same thing with Batman and Star Wars and Marvel. Like as soon as you start just shoving it down our throats all the time, I don't care about it anymore. So I don't want them to make a Predator movie.
Tell that to the studios who continue to make. Tell that to the studios who continue to make money on these.
The only ones that you can do that with, to me, are certain horror franchises. There are certain horror franchises because that's part of the fun of those movies. Those are Friday night date movies. Oh, let's go see the new Final Destination, bro. That's what those movies are for. But for something that's beloved like Predator, Star Wars, Batman, MCU, you're really ruining something that people love by that. You know what I mean? So, Jason, give me a bunch of Friday the 13th. Yes, make them. But don't do that with something that's supposed to be taken seriously.
I am very much of the belief that if you have a great movie and you decide to make a second one, a sequel, and that one is not good, you have officially ruined the first one too.
You've lessened the first one. I don't know if you've ruined it, but you've lessened it.
Okay, lessened.
Yeah. Oh no, think about it. First Matrix comes out. One of the best movies in the world. One of the best movies ever made, guys. You gotta see The Matrix. If you haven't seen The Matrix, it'll change your life. 2 and 3 come out. Yeah, the Matrix trilogy, it's all right. The first one's good, but the second sucked. That's what people say. Now that the fourth one's out, people just don't really like to regard it as a franchise. People just like, you mean, yeah, the first one's pretty good. Like people don't see that the first one is amazing still. Like some people do, like you and me, but it's just it tarnished.
To quote Drew Barrymore in Scream, the first one was good, but the rest sucked.
The rest sucked. I love that. Yeah. You just have to know your franchises and know how you're dealing with them. But overall, I think let's get done with this, man. We're running an hour and 15.
Yeah.
So I think tell me if you agree with this. Predator. I would say Predator and Prey are almost equal as far as quality of films because they are different. They sort of are two sides of a coin, especially with the names Predator and Prey, which is, that's cool. But then Arnold is such a part of the original, and that might make me say that Predator is number one. Prey is a very close second, if not just equal. Then after that, it's Predator 2. The Predator's the worst one. How about you? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I actually would agree with that. I would say I could never put anything over the original. So Prey is going to have to be second because Predator. You don't have. I mean, I know the canonical order in the timeline would be Prey, but you don't have Prey if there was never Predator. So for me, I have to say Predator is number one.
Yeah.
And then Prey. I wish Prey was the first one ever made. But that's just not what happened. And then Predators and Predator 2, and then the Predator.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I don't know if the Predator will ever escape last place in the Predator franchise. Like I think they can keep making Predator movies, and the Predator will always remain at the bottom. I think. Could be wrong. Knock on wood.
Actually, you know what? I might actually say Predator 2 over Predators.
Really?
Simply because of kind of what we discussed about how Predator 2 opened the door.
A lot of lore.
Opened the door for a lot of the lore of the Predator and the species, which we wouldn't have now. I don't think that we would have. I don't think we would even have Predators if it wasn't for Predator 2.
Yeah, I think you're right because Rodriguez was hugely inspired by both of those, and he was writing a sequel to the second one. Andrew Redwood says Predator, Prey, Predators, Predator 2, and the Predator. Yep, that's exactly what we pretty much said, except for Andrew switched his Predators and Predator 2. Which for good reason though.
If you ask me tomorrow, I might change it. But I don't know.
That's how I am too, man. Day to day, certain things change for me, especially with the Friday the 13th movies, dude. I go back and one day this one's I like more. Then I think I like this one a lot more now, and it's always going to be that way. But well, all right, yeah. Hey, Andrew, thanks for joining us, buddy. I appreciate it as always.
Thank you. I like your name, dude.
Yeah, Kindred Spirits. Well, guys, thank y'all as always for joining us. Totally appreciate it. It was fun. Sorry Clint couldn't join us, but hey, that'll be all right. He'll get us next time. And
hey, anyone watching, Clint is our music. He was our music supervisor on Lake Court. He's become a good friend of ours. We're partnering up with him for a future project. So that's why we try to include him in our YouTube discussions. That being said, be on the lookout for the Lake Court trailer coming out sometime next week. I think we have it fully. I think we can officially say that it's complete. So
I'm
about to
start trying to export that stuff like here soon. So yeah. yeah, be on the lookout, guys. It's going to be crazy, and I'm excited about it. I'm happy with it. I'm proud of it. For we made this thing for $5,000, and I think we did a pretty damn good job of it. And so, yeah, excited to show to everybody. Yeah, hey, thanks, Andrew. Appreciate that, man. Said quality content. Thanks a lot, man. That means a lot. And yeah, we'll try to keep putting them out. I'm not sure what the next video is going to be, but now that I'm done with pretty much spending my life on Lake Court, I'm going to have a lot more time to devote some more consistent reviews and stuff to the channel. But also, we are moving forward with our film company as well. So that's something that we're going to, keep moving. Oh, which, by the way, before we get off, let me just show you this. This is pretty sweet. I think you might like this, Andrew. I know you're going to like.
I know what you're going to show. This is fantastic.
Oh, well, no, I was just going to show you this right here. Oh. So, yeah. So that's our font for our film company.
Hey, why don't you play that whole little 5-second animation?
Let me see if I can and load it up real fast. I'm not sure if I can. Let me see. Hang on. Give me a second. You sombra. You Dylan. You son of a
bitch.
Let me see. Oh, wait a minute. Is it in my, let me see. Is it in the video effects? All right. Yeah, here we go. Let me see if I can, I might actually be able to do it. So yeah. And I'm still working on this, guys. This isn't a it's taking a second to upload. So this isn't a full deal. Like, it's not completely done. I'm having to still, feather some of the edges on some of these images that are in the TV screen. That way it looks like it's actually fully in the TV screen and being projected by the TV screen and not just overlaid like I've done it. But I can make it better, and I'm finishing that. But this is sort of our intro for any movies we're going to be doing or anything like that. This is what's, for right now, what's going to be in front of them. So here we go. Let's see if this plays. So it was still loading up there by the end.
Yeah.
If you can see it again, and again, I'm going to feather those images better into the screen so where they look like they're being projected, and then you're going to see this like that. Yeah, for some reason that's all blurry right there for some reason, but that's not how it always. See how it cleared up? It's normally not that blurry, so it's normally a lot more clear, guys. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I think that's kind of fun. And then we got that. So it's kind of cool to blink on like it's a neon light. All right, guys. So now we're just lollygagging. Much love to y'all. Appreciate y'all joining us. And as always, life gives you lemons.
Like some hot, fresh popcorns.